I don't know. The Irish cream sounds good, huh? What's that?
It's cream and it's Irish.
Hurry up and order.
Excuse me. Thank you. How about a smoothie? What's in that?
Smoothie's a juice drink. We want coffee.
Buddy, relax.
No, you relax. I'm a regular here. This line needs to move.
I beg your pardon. Do you have scones?
Tall, non-fat, double latte.
Sir, you're at the back of the line.
I recognize that.
Cut it out or you're out of here.
You can't kick me out.
You know what? You're really invading my ear space.
Look, I'm a frequent coffee drinker. I'm part of the club. I have a card. Do you have a card? Do you have a card?
No, I don't have
Does
a
anyone
card.
here have a card?
We don't have frequent drinker cards.
That's a video club card.
Ah!
Zip it there, Sporty Spice.
Are we doing this?
Oh.
Is this happening now?
Yeah, want it?
Sir?
Great, I'd
Let's
love
do
to.
it.
I'd
Come
love
on.
You're hurting me! You're hurting me! What is wrong with you, Derek? I thought we were friends!
My name is Andy!
Your name is Liar because you're telling lies!
Bazinga! I am Nick Muniz, today presenting The Pleasure Trap by Douglas J. Lyle. Any book in my hippie-ass brain, any book that has a guy doing a T-pose and some trippy lights, I am in. The guy's doing a T-pose and there's an X-ray of him. This book has the secrets to the universe. The Pleasure Trap. I'm going to do his TED Talk up front. Hi, I'm Dr. Lyle. I'm a psychologist. It wasn't my first choice. If we know the right direction to go, why is it so hard to go there? Here's an image of a small gray shrike. It is a little gray bird. Use your imagination. He has a peculiar habit of spiking the insects he catches on pine needles. Why is this so? Someone in the audience shouts out, "Sex!" That's right. It turns out the shrike spikes his insects to show how much food he can provide. Whichever male shrike has the most stuff gets to smash. His decision process goes genes, instinct, thought. So being a male is like flying around with a neon sign flashing in front of your eyes. Sex, food, sex, food. And for women, food, sex, food, sex. They did this study where they had a bird in a lab and it pressed a button for sex and food, even though it wasn't getting any sex and food, and he pressed it until his beak worn off. That's like dudes watching porn and eating junk food. Bustas watching gangbangs, eating 7-Eleven glizzies for dinner. You think that's going to take you to the next level? You gotta read the book with the guy doing a T-pose. There's a fine line between pain and pleasure. It's called the cervix. My knickers, we'll be right back.
People's perception of you dictate your behavior. You will never grow as a person. But if you leave yourself open to experience, despite what others think, then you will learn and grow.
Read it. Read it. Read.
About the author Douglas J. Lyle. Dr. Lyle is a graduate of the University of California, San Diego, summa cum laude. Cum real loud. He received the President's Fellowship and was commended with high regards as a DuPont scholar. A wake-up call to even the most healthy, conscious Americans, this book challenges conventional wisdom about sickness and unhappiness in today's contemporary culture and offers groundbreaking solutions for achieving change. What's it called when a chameleon can't change its colors anymore? Erectile dysfunction. Isn't it ironic that ED is a growing problem? We'll be right back. Chapter 1, Douglas J. Lyle, The Pleasure Trap. I forgot my soundboard today, so we're going a cappella. A cappella, pretty good show off. We live in a time of revolutionary insights about health, about happiness. In the last 30 years, scientists have pieced together an extraordinary understanding on how health and happiness work. Unfortunately, very few people have learned about these breakthroughs, while the world's attention has been focused on the dazzling accomplishments of computer technology and genetic research. Heat off the top, Doug. Think about it. In the past 50 years, yeah, we went to the moon and all that, but we've made equally as large strides on how the brain works. There's no reason to be unhappy anymore. We kind of know why all this stuff happens. Everyone's obsessing over advancements in AI. Well, that's something to be concerned about. What about our own happiness? Why are we going to focus about robots instead when we could fix our brains? Those in power rarely rush to embrace superior new ideas, Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote. Man's mind, once drenched by a new idea, never retains its original dimension. Strenched. It's when you stretch something out that stenches. Of the two distinct types of tools, physical and mental, this creature that uses to survive and reproduce, the physical tools are the most obvious and familiar: wings, arms, teeth, skin. The second set of tools, the mental tools, are less obvious but equally important. In fact, in modern beings, more important. So he tells that story about the Shrike. Certain treasures can release pleasure chemistry, most notably food consumption and sexual activity. But we are not designed to eat and have sex all day. Speak for yourself, Doug. Pleasure at its best is an intense event designed to last for a few precious moments each day. The experience is limited as the pleasure system quickly becomes exhausted. Pleasure was designed as the unmistakable signal of success for reaching survival or reproductive goals. Here's the clinker. Happiness is not a final destination. It is not a place you can find and then stay there forever. It is the temporary and repeatable consequence of a process that comprises a diverse set of mood states that signal we are on the right track. Damn! So that's the problem with these antidepressants, the Skyrizi and the whatever drugs people are taking. You can't just be happy all the time. No drug can trick your brain into being into that pleasure state forever. That's how the media portrays certain drugs. Even addicts aren't happy. Happiness isn't a final destination. It's literally the dopamine process. Because when you're seeking, your brain's giving you dopamine. That's like the whole book right there for you. The journey is the destination, man. There is no destination. You're not going to be happy once you get there. The journey is the best part. This is like people that live in vans are happier than millionaires. Through hikers on the PCT who sleep on rocks. They live in the cold 15 hours a day. How are they happier than someone working a 9 to 5? Because 9 to 5, you got the destination in your mind, the retirement. But the PCT, baby, the nomads, they found the hack. Happiness isn't a destination, it's a process. So if you're not enjoying the process of whatever your work is, easy to say, hard to do, find a new employer. Dopamine, it's the searching chemical. So it's even fun. I've done it so many times when you're at work and you're looking at the next place you want to work. Let's go! It's the searching chemical. There's no destination dopamine. The people looking for long-term happiness, that's oxytocin, and that's why people kind of find it at the bottom of a pill bottle. The oxytocin epidemic. They can kind of trick your brain into it, but you know for real that you're not getting the real food, the real sex, just like the Shrike. Life is a process that has to be lived. Escaping into the stasis, man. This is a pretty hippie episode. I told you there was a guy doing a T-pose on the cover. The moods of happiness together with moments of pleasure make up the best that life has to offer. So you really don't have to be a hippie on the Pacific Crest Trail, but variation, that's the trick for Chapter 1. Got a quote from Harriet Tubman. If I could have convinced more slaves that they were slaves, I could have freed thousands more. Oh no, Massa treats me well. I ain't no slave here. Massa says I can walk around whenever I want. Massa says... This is pretty racist. But bro, it's getting people to convince that they're not in the neurochemical optimal state. And people will never admit that because they can admit that it goes higher then. I know it sounds crazy to suggest that shitting in a hole makes you happier than your bidet. But Douglas has the biological argument on his side. The natural way always feels better. It's like a dating app versus real life. The dating app is always waiting there, ready for you to clean out your pipes. But dating is much more like the Shrikes trying to mate. It's about the process. That's why chicks are always flicking they beans. Every man a girl sees, they have to picture a life with them. They're always in that dopamine process. So yeah, we can have these artificial systems reinforcing brain mechanisms to make you artificially happy. Your brain knows the difference. I know. Digging a hole every time you want to poop, it sounds exhausting. But the built-in evolutionary reward is that when you're migrating on the trail next year, then there's going to be a berry bush where you just pooped. So there's even a built-in dopamine mechanism for poop he was talking about. Big toilet, man. This is hippie Nick, bro. We all need trowels for our poop and start pooping in our backyards. Pee and poop outside, man. Fight the system. That's one of the best schizo theories on the market. Poop contains trace amounts of gold. That's why the government is stealing our poop. Freaking poop thieves, man. Quote, moods of happiness are not concrete goals we set, but are rather the result of incremental success at one of the important goals of life. Happiness is the result of making process of goal attainment at any of the diverse aspects of life we find inherently important. Chapter 2, Pain. Bring the pain. A powerful example in the late 1800s, a young physician thought he had found the key to happiness. After experimenting with many drugs, he came to believe that a newly synthesized substance, cocaine, was a wonder drug. He prescribed it to his friends, his patients, and he took it himself. But after time, he came to understand its danger. His patients deteriorated, and his friend committed suicide. He himself became miserable. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, has been seduced by cocaine. Bum, 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 bum. The best psychologist ever. His buddy killed himself off of his advice. Sigmund Freud. We love some Shlomo getting knocked around here on this show. Young King. What's the guy? Douglas J. Lyle. His point is that natural things, even a coca leaf, will bypass the motivational triad. If you give a male pigeon a choice between cocaine and sexual partners, he will choose the cocaine. The artificially induced pleasure can be a more powerful signal of success than sex, and even though sex is necessary to reproduce his genes. I don't know, this is kind of out of date, we're not living in caveman times. Chick could go to a sperm bank and get whatever genes she wants. So we just shouldn't be happy? Like putting sex as the highest on the pedestal? You can't really do that when there's OnlyFans out here. It's an uneven market. Back to the thesis. There's a fine line between pleasure and pain. The cervix. Thomas Edison said, "The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause of prevention of disease." Thomas Edison, he says there won't be medicine in the future. Pain doesn't seem like a miracle, whereas getting rid of it often does. Pain is the nervous system's way of telling us that something is wrong with our body. When we get food poisoning, we don't get a sore knee. We experience nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. Hey, Pepto-Bismol. Pepto-Bismol is going to have to take up that quote with Mr. Edison. No medicine in the future? Pepto-Bismol mafia is going to show up at your door. We were also somewhat discouraged from eating that specific type of food again, a phenomenon known as conditioned aversion. So he's going to drop more psychology terms on you. But I don't have much for this chapter, so let me tell you a story. It's actually a Stephen King short story. If I might do another Alan Carr book, How to Stop Smoking, so forgive me if I tell this again in the future. Stephen King, he calls it Quitters, Inc. It's a story about a guy he meets up with an old friend. They run into each other at an airport bar. One guy asks the other, "So I hear you're trying to give up smoking. I know a guy who could help you with that." Main guy takes the business card. A month passes by. Finally, he realizes he's still smoking too many cigarettes. He says, "What the heck?" Calls the number. He goes to an office, is sat down. He's expecting a hypnotist to walk in, some hippie Reiki doctor. The doctor assures him that he is an administrator of pragmatic solutions. When people try to quit addictions, they take a romantic approach. Well, tomorrow will be the day. I'll wake up a whole new person. Pragmatism starts right now. Pragmatism also has its consequences. Doctor tells the man, "We have people watching you. If you smoke even one cigarette after leaving this office, there will be repercussions. The first will be a warning, but there will be more serious repercussions after that." The man drives home, thinking, that was a load of crap. He hits some traffic, lights up a heater on the way home. He gets home, and his wife isn't there. The man calls Quitters, Inc., and they say, "We need you back at the office." When he gets back to the office, the doctor shows the man's wife on the other side of two-way glass. She's receiving electroshock therapy. The man swears he'll never have another cigarette, and this time it took. Pain, that's the name of the chapter. It's the biggest pragmatic motivator. Not just our pain, but the perceived pain of loved ones. There's another twist in that short story. I guess I'll save it for next time. But that's basically the chapter. He talks about the shrikes even more. Pain, it could be pragmatic. Chapter 3, diet. What's different about this guy is he's an evolutionary biologist, but he's also a vegetarian. So, you know, the picture we all have in our head of a caveman dragging a giant hunk of meat. Somehow he's an evolutionary biologist, but he's also a vegetard. And I don't take sides with this argument. It's just interesting. Usually the evolution bros are going, this caveman, he had such big meat. Checkmate. I guess I'll be honest about this one too. I tried a vegetarian diet for 6 months. I've never felt leaner and cleaner. But life is about looking good, and chicks only respond to muscle in today's society. So we're bulking back up. Even though it's highly unethical in some regards. Yeah, veg heads, I do think they have the moralist argument. But I care more about health, which the jury is still out on. So, like, I don't think I'll ever go back to eating meat every single day. Because we've read the China study over on the Patreon. There's too much evidence about long-term meat consumption. But when you're young, and if you're having it just a little bit, the Arnold 80-20 vegan diet. I don't know. Let's hit some quotes. He did the Einstein one up top, everybody knows. Nothing will benefit human health and increase the chance for survival on Earth as much as an evolution of the vegetarian diet. Dude, your brain definitely works better too somehow. Then he goes McVeigh on us. After thousands of generations where people spent their lives struggling to get enough to eat, we now sabotage ourselves by getting too much. Our modern diet, excessive in fat, protein, refined carbohydrates, is the primary cause of disease and disability within industrialized civilization. Industrial society and its future. So he's still playing within the boundaries of academic history here. In its Pulitzer Prize book, Guns, Germs, and Steel, Jared Diamond tells the remarkable story of how human history has been shaped by advancements in food production. As a result, a few fortuitous twists of fate, people of the Fertile Crescent discovered how to seize increased control of their destiny. Until that time, people had to struggle to find enough food for their survival. So he's talking about Mesopotamia and the start of gardening. There was a second major consequence of the development of agriculture. Agriculture was not more efficient, but was intensive as well. An acre of tilled land could produce up to 100 times the calories that could be obtained from the same land by a hunter-gatherer. As civilization became wealthier, it became feasible to raise animals, cattle, pig, goats. Milk products were soon added to animal flesh as regular components of the human diet. So his argument is about the dental records, how cavities didn't start until animal husbandry, and that's when a lot of the diseases we see started as well. He thinks farming in agrarian society was relatively safe until we started to excess farm the animals. You got smallpox, influenza, tuberculosis, malaria, plague, measles, cholera. Each evolved from a disease in domesticated animals that then adapted to and then infected human societies. Hey, Corona came from bat soup. Are you eating a pangolin sandwich over there? That's where apparently all disease comes from, not bioweapons laboratories. Hey, did you know that AIDS started because a guy fucked a monkey? Who started that bathroom rumor? I don't know, it's a theory. Maybe diseases start because people keep messing around with animals. Running tests on them, eating pangolin paninis. Stratified society, made possible by the newfound efficiency of agriculture, often allowed an elite group to injudge the natural preference of caloric-dense food. Indulge. For the power elite, the possibility for continuous feasting led to the appearance of a new set of diseases: heart attacks, strokes, congestive heart failure, diabetes, hypertension, obesity, arthritis, gout, cancer. These diseases, often described as the illness of the affluent or diseases of kings, are now the leading cause of death and disability in the industrialized world. Industrial society and its future. So again, I don't totally agree with this guy. I'm not going to base my diet off of 3000 BC. So let's get a little bit more modern with the quotes. William Cassetti, MD, says, vegetarians have the best diet and the lowest rates of coronary artery disease of any group in the country. The proper diet for humans consists predominantly of fresh fruit, vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, seeds, and it is the foundation of good health. Millions of people in our country are suffering and dying from a handful of devastating accounts, including heart attack, stroke, congestive heart, those diseases of the king. These conditions account for 3/4 of our nation's premature deaths and the majority of our collective chronic disability, yet the culprits in these tragedies have been found accurately identified. So this is why I'm saying I'm probably never going to eat meat daily again. That's what leads to the coronary artery disease. I've never purged as much mucus from my body as when I got off of my first return to meat. Not by choice, but by incarceration. Like, I'm saying in these long-term population-wide studies, it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to crack the case. It's almost like we're turning a blind eye towards one of the biggest things clogging our arteries. And yeah, one of the other things that really ticks me off is that the same lawyers that were hired by the cigarette lobby are now being used by the meat lobby. Where's the vegetable lobby at? I don't know. We read the China study over on the Patreon. Overconsumption is responsible for 3/4 of heart disease. So I'm just trying to be honest here. Most of our listeners are in our 20s. I'm not going to be eating a 6-serve hot dogs every night, 7-Eleven glizzies, maybe once on the weekend. But in my 50s, I'm definitely not touching that shit. That's where I'm at. 6 weeks of vegetarian, try it. See how far you make it. I was eating week-old pork chops in the pen. And I'm telling you, that meat detox, I purged pounds of mucus from my body. So I treat my own body as a laboratory. That's all you could really do at the end of the day with this stuff. But what kind of holds true is that meat into adulthood might not be the best for you. And you could also read that book, The Mucusless Diet. Quote, as the former president of the American Association of Endocrine Surgeons, Dr. Estlin is well aware of the current state of conventional medical thought and advice. Oil, dairy, and meat are atherosclerotic linchpins, says David Estlin. We must eliminate the lethal phase. This little bit won't hurt. His own research paralleling that of Dr. Ian Osrich has documented the most powerful cardiovascular reversal program on record. In his study, patients who complied with the program and who had collectively experienced 48 cardiac events prior to the program experienced 0 cardiac events during the subsequent 12 years. Dog. Like, once you get into Dr. Sebi and all that, meat might be doing all of it. But I'm talking to the 20-year-old audience here. I'm going to keep reading to find out. How the fuck are we supposed to bulk up on beans? I've been chugging beans. I can't break 195 pounds now. And like 220 is my powerlifting weight. But 180, that was comfortable. Lean. If you want to feel good, get lean. But if you want to bulk up, I'm going to get you the best advice. So yeah, all of these studies that they quote are done on old people. But yeah, there's vegan bodybuilders out there, so there's no excuse. Here's another Edison quote. We are digging our graves with our teeth. And when you're like up 220, 230 pounds, you got to eat every 2 hours. I want to Hulk out again, but I don't know if I have it in me to eat that much. And I like pooping, don't get me wrong, but pooping every 4 hours, it's terrible. That can't be good for your GI tract, just to walk around with a little muscle. You bulk up when you're about to go into war. What are we all trying to be 250 pounds for life for? Just for the gram? You can see like Frank Yang, he was another bodybuilder. Izzy Ash interviewed him. Go check it out. Support the network. He drastically has reduced his size. If you look at the current Frank Yang, everybody who bulks up then goes back for the more cut look. It's not fun to sustain 250 pounds and be a ever-living Hulk. Sergio Olive, that was one of the top bodybuilders. He died of kidney failure. Sean Roden, he had a heart attack in his prime. Is it really worth it? We do know one thing for sure. Dr. Cassetti has reported that in 35 years of the Framingham study, no subject with a cholesterol level under 150 ever suffered a heart attack. Controlling dietary excess is clearly the key to preventing cardiovascular disease. So that's the rule on the show. Once you pass 50 years old, no more hot dogs. Elementary, my dear Watson. Chapter 4, Sleep. Ben Franklin said, Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Ben Danklin. The most common complaint heard by primary care physicians today is fatigue, and the most common cause of fatigue is sleep deprivation. Though designed by nature to sleep 9+ hours each night, the average adult in the United States now sleeps less than 7 hours and is sleep deprived for much of his or her life. 9 hours, that's what nature says. The cost of sleep deprivation is enormous and largely unappreciated. Stanford University's William Dement, one of the world's leading authorities on sleep, has stated, "Our national sleep debt is greater than our national monetary debt." Very good. Sleep debt? Your adenosine is piling up if you get 7 or less. Thomas Edison was annoyed by the need for sleep. He considered sleeping to be a waste of time and a nuisance. A man of tremendous energy and drive, his employees were expected to work extremely long hours, ignoring their desire to sleep. If a young engineer dozed off at his desk, Edison would use a shocking device to startle the man back to work. Edison was a dick. And then you got Tesla, who was addicted to sleep, and he said that he got some of the free energy schematics from people in his sleep. So Edison, Tesla, those are diametrically opposed historic people. It is now understood and appreciated that humans are designed by nature to sleep to satiation. The attempt to circumvent this law will cause impaired mental and physical performance. Animals in nature almost never fail to meet their daily sleep requirements. Just as hunger mechanisms are supposedly coordinated to motivate people's caloric intake, so are sleep mechanisms coordinated to motivate people to rest. So that's his next big point. We're in an environment with super stimuli. Yes, sleep feels really good, but so does hyper-interactive live-action gaming devices, 70-inch flat-screen TVs. That's much more good feeling than sleep feels. Dude, gaming is way too much fun. Your brain can't compete with that artificial stimuli. I had to sell my Xbox. I was getting too good at Fortnite. I was torturing kids in the proximity chat. But yeah, dude, video games are way too much fun. It's a super stimuli. I would rather play video games than sleep, so I took that out of my environment. The vast majority of citizens in industrialized nations are consistently failing to sleep to satiety, and they're carrying a larger sleep debt. Like when I was a teenager, I would put my phone under my pillow so that when I got a message, I could respond to a girl. Psh, I ain't a-sleeping. Yo, sleep is for the weak. What's up, girl? You up? I don't think teenagers sleep anymore. They're either on Snapchat or Fortnite. Despite superb innate mechanisms designed to discourage overeating, the modern landscape has found ways to fool these mechanisms. By removing fiber and adding fat, the modern diet has become artificially concentrated. I'm saying an active Warzone first-person shooter, that's more fun than looking at your eyelids for 9 hours a night. Super stimuli. The opposite of sleep is caffeine. The adverse effects of tobacco use are also well known. Less well appreciated are the adverse effects of caffeine. Caffeine increases blood pressure and thereby might increase the potential for heart attacks and stroke. Caffeine is among a group of chemicals called methylxanthites, shown to increase nervousness, irritability, and gastric acid secretion. These chemicals can stimulate growth of breast cells in women, contributing to an increased risk of breast cancer. Whoa. Methylxanthites. Meth. People wake up and do meth every morning and then act like you're a bad guy because you smoke a J. You do meth. Methylxanthites. Like all the chicks that have the t-shirts that say, but first I need my coffee. First I need meth. And he just linked it to breast cancer. You know the chick who holds that mug every morning? Hey girl, are your titties getting bigger or is that just caffeine? Out of line. Quote, in a recent study, a research team at Henry Ford Hospital found that people who felt fine but had slept only 8 hours the previous night performed significantly less effective on tests, information processing, creativity, critical thinking, and general vigilance than they had when slept 10 hours. So he was basically getting at here, regular caffeine use nullifies 2 hours of sleep a night. It's like you're always being hungover. You're always carrying that debt. You drink coffee because you're tired, and then you sleep like shit because you drank coffee. So now you need coffee, and you're back on the treadmill again. Coffee people. Oh, at first I need my coffee, but first let me hit my meth pipe. Dude, think about it in gaming culture. Energy drinks and soda with caffeine is huge. The industry profits off of stealing your sleep. We're going OA on it. 2 more quotes. Sleep experts now believe that it is a fact sleep debt, not alcohol use, is the leading cause of lethal auto accidents in the U.S. DUI, that's so 1900s. Now it's sleeping under the influence. I think I messed that up. Quote, it is hardly surprising that chronic sleep deprivation is also associated with anxiety, irritability, depression. Studies at the University of Pennsylvania have shown that when sleep debt is removed, people soon feel more vibrant, healthier, and slightly more optimistic. Chapter 5, Conclusions. Breaking free of the pleasure trap is not about a life of denied pleasure and self-sacrifice. It is not about adopting a program of self-righteous assumption. The truth is that breaking free of the pleasure trap allows us to pursue worthwhile goals, including pleasures that do not simultaneously undermine health and happiness. So yeah, that Gabor Mate is the best tip. Addiction is when it starts to hurt your health, but a passion is something that helps your health. Quote, we recommend that you have no junk food or recreational drugs in the house. Simply get rid of it. Throw it away or give it away. Make your home a sanctuary for healthful living, and make inconvenience a motivational buffer, working rather than against you but for you. So there's that extra step. If you want sugary treats, then you have to leave the house, and then you're less likely to do it. Why I had to give up video games. Another helpful tip. We recommend that you engage in a regular exercise program, preferably every day. A regular bedtime hour is also ideal, providing a routine that helps the body regulate hormonal activity. Together with regular exercise and the avoidance of caffeine and other stimulants, this simple routine will eliminate the vast majority of sleep disorders and will help you awaken each day feeling motivated and alive. D. The weekly menu plan. The centerpiece of a new lifestyle is a method for incorporating your healthy habits into the routine of your life. Not each and every meal needs to be planned in advance, of course, but the value of preparation is enormous when attempting to combat not only the world's food chemists, but also the combined forces of entire food industry's marketing genius. It's hard to beat, so prepping is how you get ahead. Make no mistakes, the task is difficult. The motivational triad actively lobbies against healthy changes. That is the nature of the pleasure trap, and for those who have struggled to make positive change on their own, sometimes getting professional assistance can be a good idea. The modern environment is a minefield of temptation and obstacles. It's a mime field. There's French mimes everywhere. Sometimes what is needed is a complete break, a physical retreat from the modern world, and the experience of breaking all bad habits at once. My old tip: if you're overstimulated, get outside. Go camping for a night. You're going to come back completely grateful. Reset your levels. Last quote. We now live in a world that is both artificial and wondrous. In the eye blink of a single century, the timeless threats of scarcity and misery have been all but conquered by most of the world's people. For this, we should be more thankful. But the road before us is one still filled with great challenges. A mime field, if you will. As it gets easier, it also gets harder. So I'm going to be there every step of the way, every Tuesday morning. There you guys have it, The Pleasure Trap by Dougie Lyle. He's an active speaker. Check out his TED Talk. Harry Schwant on Instagram if you want some free memes at the end of the night. We're swinging to the other side of the pendulum next week with Aleister Crowley's The Psychology of Hashish. It is a pleasure trap of its own. Or maybe it's a mystic's tool. We're talking about cannabis for 420. Thank you guys for staying tuned, learning every single week. See you next time. Peace!